YouTube's here. Hopefully the birds will not be super duper loud today. I know they're beautiful. I love having the birds in the background, but I realize that sometimes they come out in the video louder than I do, and it might be a little shrill for some people. Today I'm sharing Hoopment. I think I was going to share working with the heavier staffs next, but that's okay. I can share whatever I want to, because that's what we're doing here on this planet, right? We're sharing. So it's whatever we feel like sharing. When we have the bandwidth to share that with others, do that. Do that. I like to share self-care. And what got me on this journey was a hoop to rehabilitate my shoulder when I had an injury that was taking forever to heal, that was then getting worse. And then I did this thing, and I did this movement here specifically. That movement specifically, and often with my hand on my shoulder when I think about it now, so I didn't even realize that I was doing a kind of a pin and stretch because it hurt so much. But then it got better, and within a few weeks, it was recuperated. And not only that, my entire body felt better, and I thought about like, wow, how is it that my whole body feels better when I've really just been focusing on the shoulder? But then I realized to get the movement, because it was so painful, I had to very delicately move it, and I had to move my entire body around to get that motion in. And in that process, I was mobilizing everything gently. So my joints were getting synovial fluid production, my interstitial fluid, which can kind of be a little gummy, sticky when we're not in motion, gets warm and moving and much more like water versus glue. So then it can move, then our tissues can move more easily. I like this. And it provided, even though it was repetitive, it wasn't repetitive in a way that other repetitive movement is. And so then I started exploring, I started giving away hoops. Once I knew how good a tool it was, I started making and giving away hoops because, oh my goodness, what a wonderful tool. And I had a friend, Lena, who encouraged me to break it down. And thanks to her encouragement to break it down, I was able to move on to like elementally intuitive movement, to doing it without any hoops, without any implements. But after a bit, I recognized that the implements, while I consider them EIM squared, because it's the next level, it in many ways is the first level. For some people, it's very challenging to just move your body. When you have this teacher, the hoop is your guide, it guides you to move through circular movement, because we follow those planes, the horizontal plane, the vertical plane, there's the diagonal plane, and the vertical plane. So as we're following these planes and doing it slowly, engaging our stabilizer muscles, and paying attention to those foundations, breath, center, and base. How are we holding ourselves up as we're moving through space and making sure that we're supporting our bodies as we're practicing this movement? And recognizing that when we practice this deliberately with these implements, which is fun, we're also training ourselves to support our bodies the rest of the time too, to be aware of how we're holding ourselves up, how we're placing our feet, how we're supporting our core, all of this. So that way, and our breath, where's our breathing? So our nervous system stay calm is through our breath. One of the ways, but a very easy way that we can harness with attention, with deliberate practice. The more that we deliberately practice paying attention to all of these things all at the same time, the easier it becomes to maintain that all in focus as we're doing everything else that we're doing in our daily lives. And so we have our same levels, and they apply all the way through. EIM squared, we start with getting to know our guides, level O, getting to know our guides. They're connected to each other. And movement with elementally intuitive movement is always improvised. Nothing is ever choreographed. Because I'm exploring my sphere. So my body doesn't get fatigued from the exercises. But it does gain strength, mobility, and flexibility. And grace. I was not graceful for the first quarter of my life. I was very much a klutz with very bad balance. Right, level O. Level 1, finding our centers. 1.5, beginning to expand. Level 2, expanding into our spheres. Level 3, exploring our spaces with mobile bases. Mixing it all up. Level 4, returning to center. That was a little bit of hooping there with my Hoopment, and that's fine. It's okay to do that every once in a while. As long as you're mostly practicing Hoopment, which is holding it in your hands, versus hooping, which is twirling it. And that's the difference. And really, honestly, when it comes down to it, Hoopment is isolations within the hooping world. But as your movement guides, as your teachers, for the purpose of elementally intuitive movement, most of the time we keep a hold of our hoops. And every once in a while we give a twirl, because it's fun. And then level 5, intuitive integration. Let's add something. So I add in shimmy. Levels up the cardio. This movement practice makes it possible for me at 43 and a half years old almost to practice massage therapy 4 to 6 days a week, depending on if I pick up extra shifts, for 7 to 8 hours a day. And I'm fine. And the first 40 years of my life, well, man, the first 3, no, maybe not, but so 37 years. There's a long period of my life that I lived with a lot of chronic pain, and technically I still do live with chronic pain, because when I get out of the car after being still, my body hurts. Everything creaks, everything groans, it feels terrible when I first get out of bed. Everything is stiff, everything groans, everything feels terrible. And if I were to stay still and not mobilize, I would continue to feel terrible. But because I do this movement practice, I don't feel terrible once I get moving. And I'm able to do all of the things that I do, which I would not have been able to do earlier in my career when I was younger, and technically should be more capable, but I wasn't. I was in too much pain, and I wasn't taking care of myself. So all of those factors together combined, my nervous system was highly dysregulated. This movement practice, a side effect is it regulates your nervous system, because you're paying attention to all these different factors that help support your body in a way that you're more likely to have a regulated nervous system versus a dysregulated nervous system. And if you get dysregulated, you can easily return to center, because you've been practicing deliberately, paying attention to breath, center, and base, and where you are in space, and where you are within your sphere. And if you've been practicing your snake and shake, then you've been chopping away your fears and shaking off that which doesn't serve you. So all that remains is that which you need to retain to make it through this experience as kindly as possible, with the least amount of filters in the way, so that we can more clearly witness our reality and the beauty of nature that surrounds us, if we are fortunate to get to enjoy that. Not everybody gets to, and I recognize that. So that's part of me sharing my space of nature with the bird sounds as a form of therapy for whoever doesn't get to have that for whatever reason. Some people don't get to go outside. Some people have lots of terrible allergies. Even if they did have access to it, it's like outside is trying to kill them. That's not fun. But the lovely thing about elementally intuitive movement is you can do it at home.